Hi scientists, my name is Mariana and I'm with Scientific Adventures for Girls. Today we're going to be trying out a recipe to make our own version of kinetic sand. Kinetic sand is the name of a toy that you may have seen in stores or online, and it's really fun to play with in your hands. It's made with sand and a special kind of oil that makes it look wet, but it never dries out. Today we'll be trying out a recipe to make our own version of kinetic sand that has a similar texture.
Here's what our kinetic sand will end up looking like. It feels nice and squishy. It's a little bit like Play-Doh and kinetic sand mixed together. To make it, you'll just need a few simple ingredients that you might already have in your kitchen. You will need baking soda, baking powder, cornstarch, liquid dish soap, and a bowl and spoon. You can also have food coloring, but that's optional. Here's a simple recipe to make a small batch of kinetic sand. You'll need a tablespoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and cornstarch, and about 1 to 2 tablespoons of liquid dish soap. You're going to mix your dry ingredients together in a bowl, and then slowly add the liquid dish soap and food coloring if you'd like, and then you're going to mix it all together with your hands.
So to start this activity, I cleaned up an area and I just put a piece of parchment paper over it, but you can put anything over it like plastic wrap or foil, just something so it's easy to clean up afterwards. You can also do this outside. So we're going to start with a bowl and a spoon in our measuring spoon, and we'll do a tablespoon each of baking powder and baking soda and cornstarch.
After mixing the dry ingredients, it's time to add the dish soap. You can mix food coloring with the dish soap first to make it easier to mix together. I found that it's really important to slowly add the dish soap and mix it with your hands instead of a spoon, so you can feel it start to turn into the consistency and texture that you want. You will only need about 1 or 2 tablespoons of dish soap in total. Here you can see that my sand got really foamy and squishy, which felt really cool, but it wasn't the texture that I wanted. It felt too wet, so I added a bit more cornstarch. If your sand is too wet, you can add a bit more cornstarch or baking powder. If you notice it's getting too crumbly and dry, you can add a bit more dish soap. Just make sure to only add a little bit at a time and mix it with your hands so you can feel how it changes. Be prepared to do a lot of mixing and kneading with your hands, like you're making a bread dough.
So it feels really nice right now. You can kind of see that it's like kinetic sand. And it comes apart easily, but then you can squish it back together.
When you're done making your kinetic sand, make sure to store it in a plastic baggie or a plastic container to make sure it doesn't dry out.
After making my kinetic sand and letting it sit out for a while, I realized it was drying out and getting really crumbly, so I just added a few more drops of liquid soap and it seemed to help. Now it's nice and squishy and really fun to play with. So try making a few batches of your own kinetic sand. You can use measuring cups or measuring spoons and then make some bricks with your kinetic sand, and then stack your bricks and see how tall you can make a tower. Thanks so much for joining me, scientists, and I hope you have fun making and building with your kinetic sand.